Morning peeps, good morning everyone. How are we all doing? Hopefully all doing very, very well. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget as well to like and share the vids. Also, don't forget, give me a follow on Instagram if you haven't already done it, Ade or Ladipo. Guys, you know I always tell you lot everything. And I was on my way here, yeah, and I was thinking about this studio that I've created, right? We've been here for just over a year now. And I was thinking, do we need it? Do you know what I mean? Like, should I give it up? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, I don't use it enough to justify it anymore. And it would be a shame. We're thinking about it. That's not set in stone. I'm just thinking about it. I like to put it out there and tell you guys what's in my head. Like, well, you know, funny thing is, yeah, when I first got this studio, there was no DAZN. There was no 888 Sport. There was a bit of Talk Sport, but it was really just Talk Sport 2. And now there's so much going on, I don't get here enough and use it. Like, what I really wanted it for was guests, and I haven't even done enough of that, have I? Let's be honest, I've not. And it's just because I'm so busy. So yeah, I'm thinking, you know, it's not like it's free. I rent this place, you know, it costs money. So I'm thinking, is it worth still using it, like, for this? Because this is what I really use it for. I don't really use it for anything else. But I could just go back to doing what I used to do on the green chair in my front room, or maybe create a new space. I don't know. But yeah, I'm thinking about giving it up, which is a shame. But again, nothing set in stone. And you guys know, even if I do give it up, there'll also be another venture or idea that I'll give a go. But yeah, it's just, I'm just not here as much as I used to be, right? I mean, I used to be here 5 days a week, and then it kind of made sense. I'm probably here 3 times a week, 2 times a week, and there's no point paying the amount of money I pay for it for 2 times a week. Do you know what I mean? From a very basic standpoint, there isn't. So look, we'll see. That's nothing done yet, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yesterday, I sat down and spoke to KSI yesterday for DAZN. Very interesting character. I don't know if a lot of you guys like KSI. I'm not quite sure, but I guess there has to be a level of respect there. Even if you're not a fan of his, I don't know, YouTube boxing thing, there has to be a level of respect. I mean, this guy is doing so many things, it's ridiculous. Like, I actually asked him, I'm like, do you just go home? I'm not joking, this is what I asked him. I said, do you just go home, put your feet up and think, what the fuck is going on? Like, this prime drink that he's now done a deal with Arsenal Football Club. I mean, he's got a song out that's, I think, #2 in the charts right now. Fucking what else is he doing? Boxing. He's got like 4 or 5 YouTube channels that, I'm telling you now, from a guy that has YouTube at a very basic level, his YouTube channels, I would say, financially, this is just a guess, but I'm just trying to work it out with the amount of money I get from YouTube to his vast amount of YouTube numbers. He might be making, let me think properly before I say something completely outlandish. He's easily, this is no joke, easily making $500,000 a month. Easily. That's easy. So I'm going towards the 750 to $1 million a month, maybe more. In fact, I'll say more than that. He's fucking doing crazy things. So my level of respect for someone that can juggle all those different things, plus he's got restaurants and other bits and bobs as well. Respect. August 27th, looks like he's fighting this guy called Storms, who I clearly know nothing about. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, the O2 Arena, I think, is sold out now. And I think that's one of the reasons they didn't want to cancel it when his other opponent pulled out. But yeah, man, fascinating to speak to him, because this is a guy that's doing a lot of stuff, and I respect that. Someone like myself that's trying to juggle 1 or 2 things and I feel overwhelmed by it. The fact that this guy can juggle 6 or 7 things, and not just juggle them, but do 6 or 7 things, and all of those things, like, be incredible. You've got to applaud it. Billy Joe Saunders, I wanted to talk about him for a few minutes, because I'd almost forgotten about Billy Joe in the last few months. There was some whispers and talks about him versus Chris Eubank Jr. That was about 4 or 5 months ago, and then it just kind of just stopped, and then obviously the talk became Chris Eubank versus Kell Brook or Chris Eubank versus Conor Benn. Recently, Eddie Hearn has said that he sat down or had a conversation with Billy Joe Saunders, trying to work out a deal, obviously because, you know, the last couple of fights have been under Matchroom, right? Trying to work out a deal, and they just couldn't get to the same number. But that would suggest that Billy Joe Saunders is thinking about a comeback, right? I mean, if you're having conversations and seeing what numbers are out there, you're thinking of a comeback. And he might get that number. Again, boxer are paying big money. We know that. That's how they were able to get Ben Whittaker from under the nose of DAZN. It looked like he was going to sign to DAZN and Matchroom. All of a sudden, Sky put a big money offer in. We're led to believe. So they're willing to pay big money. So it looks like Billy Joe Saunders might not be done yet. Obviously, look, we haven't seen him in the ring for over a year since he lost to Canelo. And you know, the funny thing is, you know, until he got his face broken, and that's kind of what happened, he was actually boxing quite well against Canelo. Like, he was doing okay, and then that happened. But there is still much more to give and much more left, I think, from Billy Joe Saunders. I think he's a really good boxer. I don't know if he's elite level anymore. I'm not quite sure if he's that, but there is still some good fights out there for him. There has to be. I mean, you're a 2-weight world champion. You've only lost to, at the time, the pound for pound number one. There are some good fights that can be made. Can he still make 168 pounds? It's debatable, right? Every time we see pictures of Billy Joe Saunders, he does look pretty big. But he does make the weight. But we'll see what next for him. I mean, we all love the Chris Eubank Jr. fight at 168. That'd be a fantastic fight. Liam Smith has come over to Sky now. I don't know. I mean, could Billy Joe make 160 or a catchweight of Liam Smith? But there are some big fights in America. Forget here for a second. There are some big fights over there. But realistically, I'm saying that, can I envisage Billy Joe Saunders signing to a PBC or a Top Rank? Not sure. But look, I mean, if they can offer him, I don't know how valuable a commodity he'll be in America. I think his value, or the money that he wants to get, is only here. It's only here. It's only on Sky Sports. It's only on DAZN. Over in America, I don't think his value is that, right? I don't think he's going to get the money he wants. So as much as I say there are American fights for him, and there are loads of fights for him in America, I don't think it will happen. I mean, look, we don't know what's going to happen with GGG. Look, I think Canelo beats GGG. I mean, that's a fight that can be made on Sky. I mean, depending upon how GGG loses to Canelo, if he gets stopped and looks really bad, almost like he did in the first few rounds against Murata, then he might call it quits. But if it's a competitive fight, then I still think GGG is a big name. GGG versus Billy Joe Saunders on Sky, he might get the money he wants then. He might. But I'd like to see him come back. I wouldn't want him to go out the way he did. But if we're realistic, if he were to come back, what are we now? August. If he were to sign a deal, because he's clearly just shopping around, he really isn't going to have a fight into the new year. So he could be out the ring by the time he comes back 2 years. What's Billy Joe Saunders? I'm guessing Billy Joe Saunders is about 34. Which doesn't really matter if you live the life. I'm not convinced Billy Joe Saunders does. Okay, 32. We'll be 33, 30th of August. There's something there, isn't there? There's something there. I would like to see him come back and have a couple more. I really would. Again, if Eubank Jr. Beats Conor Benn, and he's favourite to beat Conor Benn, then Eubank Jr. versus Billy Joe Saunders will always sell. Always sell. So there are a couple of big fights out there for him. Golovkin is one, Eubank Jr. is the other. I think those fights are probably it. Anything else? Again, there are fights in America, but they're not going to make the money that Billy Joe Saunders clearly wants, whereas Eubank and I think Golovkin will. All right, let's see if there's any news. Guys, we're so close now to AJ Usyk, or should I say Usyk AJ? It's good to say the champion first. Boy, we'll do a video 1 week out. We've spoken enough about it. Let's not anymore. I haven't really seen, by the way, I'll be honest with you, the build up to this fight has been pathetic. Like, I'm not really, I don't get into that stuff. Like, I just want to see the fight. But it would be nice to have something, right? This is a unification fight. This is big. This is Usyk versus AJ. AJ trying to get his belts back. This is huge. And it's just been non-existent. Like, Sky have almost brought the rights, but it's like they didn't really want to, so they've not really thought about giving it a good push. I mean, the Sky Sports machine hasn't really started to get into gear, and you're thinking, well, you better hurry up because the fight's on August the 20th. So it's a weird one, but look, they're gonna fight. Fingers crossed, no injuries, and then we'll see. We'll see what happens. WBC Prez defends his willingness to rank Jake Paul. He deserves respect. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I'm not joking, that's ridiculous. And that might be one of the reasons why Jake Paul didn't really want the Hasim Rahman fight at a higher weight class. The reason I say that is because, remember, Mauricio Suleiman was going to rank Jake Paul as a cruiserweight. If the fight went over 200 pounds, then you're talking about a heavyweight fight. I think that's correct, isn't it? And so he wouldn't have been ranked. So maybe that was one of the reasons behind the scenes as well. But yeah, ranking Jake Paul, even the conversation to rank Jake Paul is strange. I mean, it is strange. There are fighters out there. And by the way, when we say rank him, that means we're talking putting him in the top 15. There are fighters out there that are doing work that are not ranked. They're doing work, like cruiserweights that are fighting good name cruiserweights. You know what I mean? That are not ranked. For example, I mean, that guy that Jordan Thompson fought on the weekend, Duka, but he's not ranked. I bet you any money he's not ranked. He'll fuck up Jake Paul. He'll knock him out. He's not ranked, is he? WBC haven't sort of looked at, one second, let's rank him. It's ridiculous. Honestly, Mauricio Suleiman's an embarrassment. He really is. Just an embarrassment. Salita on Usyk Joshua. Skill-wise and boxing knowledge-wise, two different athletes. Okay. I love all this. This is good. All this is good because if AJ does win, then again, the plaudits are going to be incredible. Like AJ puts Usyk to sleep because everyone, including me, are saying, oh, you know, Usyk's favourite, Usyk should win. So if AJ does win, then the plaudits are crazy. Plaudits are crazy. What's this? Fury to Chisora, you're running from the trilogy. Get the fucking contract signed. We're going to do a separate video about that because that's strange. Golovkin, Canelo will take our fight more seriously than he did Bivol. True. I believe that. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the Dimitri Bivol win, but and by the way, I said Bivol would win, by the way. On the DAZN boxing show with Akam Barak, I said I think Bivol wins. So I'm not taking anything away from his win, but I do think there was almost like this kind of arrogance that Canelo would just turn up and win. And I feel that sometimes that can seep into training. Like Canelo looked bad. Every time there was sort of leaked footage of him sparring, he looked bad, just sitting on the ropes. He will be fired up for Golovkin because there's a genuine hatred there. And I think that always gives you an extra 5%. Even if it's an extra 1% at the top level, it's all about inches, isn't it? So we'll see. We'll see. Wilder manager, Anthony Joshua fight is enormous, even if he loses to Usyk. Yeah, of course, it's still enormous. As I said, and I've trademarked this now, chaos in Lagos. That fight in Nigeria is huge. I mean, look, there's no problem in losing to Usyk because you're losing to a pound for pound number one. You're losing to someone that might, you know, when it's all said and done and we look back, you know, fast forward 20 years and look back, we're like, I remember that Usyk kid. There's no problem in losing to them, and there's no problem in Wilder losing to Fury because we're going to do the same thing to Fury. Wilder versus AJ will still sell. I guess it matters. It kind of matters how he loses. Like Wilder has gained so much respect in that Fury defeat because he put Fury down twice, hurt Fury. If AJ does something like that and still loses, not a problem. If AJ just gets bounced about the ring and, you know, gets his head fucking knocked back all the time and then gets stopped, there's a problem. And it's a difficult sell. But if he puts in a performance and loses, no shame, and you make Wilder AJ, it's huge money. Joe Joyce, I can't wait to knock Joseph Parker out just for all this long time waiting and messing about. Great fight. Honestly, great fight. Love it. I honestly, that anything can happen in that matchup. I have said that I think Joseph Parker looks a lot better under Andy Lee, and Joe Joyce. Look, Joe Joyce is now Joe Joyce. He is what he is. I just feel like Joseph Parker can crack, has a gas tank, and I think he can take a crack as well. Should be fun. Broner wants to fight Mayweather in an exhibition. Why not get in there and make 9 figures apiece? I don't think you will. I think Broner maybe thinks too much of himself. Broner's sort of thing's done, isn't it? Like, I like Broner, by the way, but it's done. It's not that guy. And he really, really could have been that guy, you know. Really. I mean, you guys remember sort of 5-6 years ago when Broner was coming through, maybe even a bit before that, everyone was like, yo, this literally was Floyd Mayweather 2.0. And I don't mean it as though this is a better Floyd. I'm just saying it was Floyd, wasn't it? The arrogance, but then you're going in the ring and you're getting the job done. And then I think we saw the slippage, right? You know, at that top level, yeah, at the very, very top level of boxing, you've got to live the life. You have to. You'll get found out. You'll get found out eventually. It's even the Kovalev thing. Obviously, Kovalev's trainer at the time used to speak about Kovalev drinking, like, you know, so Kovalev got away with it, didn't he? He used to bash people up. At very top level, he had that fight against Andre Ward, the very elite level. You'll get found out. And I thought he beat Andre Ward the first time around, but if you're not living the life, and they are, you'll get found out. And Broner had all the ability. He did. I know his feet were always a bit slow, but had the ability. But we also saw what he was doing outside as well. The drinking, the partying. You can't just switch it on and off. You can't. Not at the very, very elite level. I don't think you can do that. You can't sort of just switch it on when you get into fight camp, and the 4 months before fight camp you're doing whatever. And that was Broner. That was Broner. And unfortunately, you know, I think we saw it a bit against Paulie Malignaggi, and then obviously we saw it against Maidana, and then the rest is history. It's a shame. It really is. Anything else? What we got here? We'll end on this one very quickly. Virgil Ortiz, his quick ring return. I want to fight as often as possible. Yeah, he does. He needs to as well. Remember his fight on the weekend. The fight before that was Velasquez. He does need to stay busy. He's a bit of a problem, isn't he? Gets caught, gets hit. Funny thing is, so does Boots Ennis. Like, a lot of people are very high on those two, but I already, with my critical eye, I already see mistakes. I already see mistakes. And we're not talking mistakes against the elite here. We're talking mistakes against, I hope this doesn't sound bad, against B-level fighters, maybe even C-level fighters. You know, everyone crowns them as the next best, and a lot of people are talking about Boots Ennis being able to beat Crawford or Spence, and not, who knows, maybe. But I see so many mistakes, I'm thinking Crawford will destroy them both. Fact, like, destroy them both, honestly. And I think Spence will. I hesitate to say Spence, because Spence gets hit as well now, but I think Spence will. Like, these two are a bit away. Honestly, they need, they're probably, it's unlucky that there isn't the gatekeeper like a Sean Porter to then go next, but Furman's around. I'd like to see how they do against Furman, but I'm not yet crowning them the next kings, not yet. Guys, all right, we are done. No decision yet on the studio. We'll decide what to do in a couple of weeks, but that's the thinking. Peace.